only 6.8% of Americans have optimal metabolic health. Hello, and welcome back to The Wellbeing. My name is Madison,
My name is Rachel.
and today we're talking about metabolic health and metabolic disorders, and why it matters. I think this is a big buzzword in the health world right now. Like, you have a metabolic issue, and
Yeah. But
there
what
are
does that
many of them.
mean?
What does that
Right.
actually mean? And so there
Exactly.
are specific markers of metabolic health. And so let's talk about them.
Yes. This feels like one too that is hard to understand and also like you don't know you have it or you might not know what's going on and you have to do like multiple tests or like really dig deep to like figure it out. So I think it can be confusing.
Yeah, and I think that the statistic is that only 6.8% of Americans have optimal metabolic health.
What?
Yep. So if you are sitting here listening to this right now, there is a what, 92 point
93 point, what'd you say?
93.2
6.82% chance?
93.2% chance that you do not have optimal metabolic health, which is pretty much probably all of us.
It's gotta be me. It's gotta be. That's
It's gonna be
crazy.
me. Yeah, same. So,
So listen
um,
up.
so listen up. We're
Take notes.
also listening up. Yeah, that's not a good statistic, guys. And I think we like to blame it on the artificial dyes or the uh additives or the BHT and BHA, which, like, we're not sitting here, we have podcasts about why these are not good for your health. But at the end of the day, that is not the reason for the crisis of health in America, period. It's
Yeah,
just simply not, because
right.
contrary to popular belief, all of these things are also allowed in Europe.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes. This is a huge topic, I think.
mhm.
Like, the problem is not the ingredients in the processed foods that we're consuming. The
Yeah,
problem is we're consuming too many processed things
yeah,
and not whole foods. That's the
correct.
problem.
It is a problem, big problem. So,
Yeah.
what actually does this mean? So, a metabolic disorder is a group of conditions where the body's chemical processes, aka your metabolism, are disrupted, leading to various health problems and outcomes. So, you can have metabolic syndrome, which is just a cluster of conditions that increase the risk of developing chronic diseases like heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Or you could have like a list of metabolic disorders that have to do with your metabolism. Does that make sense? So you could either have metabolic syndrome, which is the syndrome consisting of these issues with these different markers, or you could have something like type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance and prediabetes, mitochondrial dysfunction, thyroid disorders. I have a thyroid disorder, which non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. Does this
That's
make
a big
sense?
one. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. How did you find out you had like a thyroid disorder or and
Um,
when?
I have known that I probably have this since I was 16. Fun fact about me, I'm 5'3.5". I round up, I say I'm 5'4". Um, and I was supposed to be 5'7". And they think that the reason I am so short, which I love being small, I love my height, I have nothing wrong with it, but they think that the reason is that they didn't catch my thyroid disorder early enough. So I have probably had this since I was probably 13 or 14. And it
Whoa.
likely had to do with stress, because stress is one of these things that, like,
Yeah.
can cascade all of these things.
Yeah.
We do not need to go into my very stressful childhood, but like I feel like most people had one.
I mean,
Um,
yes. And obviously 13,
yeah,
14 is like puberty.
yeah,
So like
all
that's
of the
just, I
things.
mean, if you're a
But
woman listening to this, you know that that's
yeah, it's
stressful.
very stressful.
Yes.
Um, but also my mom has it, my aunt has it, my grandma had it. It just like runs in my family. We all have
Okay.
Hashimoto's. It's my mom was always like, it's not a big deal. You just like take this medication and take care of your health and you'll be fine. And for a lot of people, that is the case. For some people, it's much more debilitating than that. And we don't have to talk about Hashimoto's today, but um I didn't actually get diagnosed because my mom, every time I would go to the doctor, she'd be like, "Hey, Maddie's really struggling with her stomach, with her like
Mm,
her hair, her eyebrow, like whatever." All of these like very distinct Hashimoto's and thyroid symptoms, and they would test my TSH and be like, "Her TSH is within normal. Your TSH is a pituitary measure; it's not a thyroid measure, and so testing that doesn't actually measure your thyroid. It's a very long story. And because of that, I finally, in grad school, felt so horrible and so tired all the time. I couldn't
Oh, I'm
think.
sorry. Grad school's
Like,
rough enough as
it
it is
was, yeah, it was horrible. And like
without
my
that.
stomach was like the worst it had ever been, like all just really bad. And so I finally went to UW Health and I was like, I am pretty sure I have Hashimoto's. Like, I am 99% sure I have this. No one will diagnose me. And this new grad PA guy who's super cool at like the health center in the middle of campus,
Yeah.
he was like, why won't they just test your antibodies? And I was like, I don't know. No one will do it. Will you do it? And he's like, yeah, obviously. And I was like, sick, thanks. And like literally 12 hours later, I had an email that was like, you have this problem. Here's a prescription. Have a nice day. So
Wow.
that is, I probably was 24.
Okay.
Hmm. By the
Dang.
time someone actually did it. Because then it took a year of grad school of being like, okay, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
I'm so tired and
That's
so
miserable
not okay.
mad. I
Hmm.
didn't even know like that
That's
you
okay.
I think I knew you had that like in grad school, but I didn't know
Yeah.
like you went through that process in grad
Hmm.
school.
Yeah,
That's
someone finally did it.
miserable because grad school is miserable. And
0 out of 10.
being like having that on top of it, get
Yeah,
out of
it was
here.
not
Oh
great,
my
but
gosh. Okay.
that's okay. We made it. We're here now. I take NP thyroid, makes me feel fantastic. 10 out of 10.
Good, good. We like
Helps
it.
a lot. We love that.
Okay.
Um, anyways, so that is a metabolic disorder. I think you can still be metabolically healthy with a metabolic disorder, like as much as you can be, right? Like my ranges are now within normal limits with the assistance of this medication, and I don't eat gluten, and I exercise, and I make sure I sleep really well, and like do all these other things that all help support the inflammation and thyroid
Sure.
stuff
Okay.
going on in my body. So
Yeah.
you can have two things can be true. So, um, anyway, there are 5 criteria for metabolic syndrome. Obviously, the other ones we mentioned, like thyroid disorders and type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance and all these things, they're going to have different criteria. But I think that the criteria for metabolic disorders are really interesting, um,
Mm,
because they're ones that you could almost do at home. I mean, not all of these you can do at home, but a lot of these you can almost do at home. So,
yeah.
the first one is abdominal obesity. So, having a waist circumference. So, the smallest part of your waist should be, if you're a man, less than 102 centimeters, or for a woman, less than 88 centimeters. You can also do like a waist to hip circumference situation as well. Um, Blood pressure, less than 120 over 80. Remember, anything over 120 over 80 is considered high blood pressure. So it needs to be 120 over 80 or below.
Hmm.
Flat fasting blood glucose less than 100 milligrams per deciliter, and your A1C should be less than 5.7. Some people say it should even be lower than that,
Hmm.
um, at any given time. And remember, A1C is a measure of the last 3 months of your insulin or your blood glucose. And then triglycerides less than 150 milligrams per deciliter, and HDL cholesterol greater than or equal to 40 or 50 milligrams per deciliter in men or women, respectively. So 40 for men, 50 for women.
Dang, this is like crazy too. Okay, it's also saying in 2019, we learned that 88% of American adults had at least one of these things of the metabolic syndrome. So at least one of these things they were positive for, which is like
Crazy.
wild.
That's
And
like
then
everyone.
again, back to the stat that you said that only 6.8% of Americans have optimal. So 88% of people have at least one of these things. And that's so crazy.
It's wild.
That's so crazy.
It's wild.
And
And
how
this is what's
often,
making
like,
us
are we
sick.
getting these tested?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if when you go to the PCP, your primary or GP, depending on where you live, what is on a CBC panel? Because I'm not sure if like insulin, yeah, no, it's not. So you'll get like a CBC, complete blood count, when you go every year, right?
Hmm.
And
You
that's
can get
like,
like A1C is through that usually, right?
nope.
No, that has
They
to be added
test,
on.
white blood cells, red blood cells, hemoglobin, hematocrit, platelets, uh, polys, lymphs, monocytes, eosinophils, basophils, absolute lymphs, absolute polys, absolute monocytes, absolute basophils, and absolute eosinophils.
Okay.
So, no,
Hmm.
you'd have to separately request that. Now, they will do your blood pressure because,
Hmm.
contrary to popular belief, where everyone thinks everyone dies of cancer, everyone all actually dies of heart
Heart
failure,
disease.
heart
Yeah.
disease.
Yeah.
Um, so they do take your blood pressure. They do not measure, they measure your BMI, which is not, I mean, it's a great measure for total population
Yeah.
weight, but it's not a great measure for your personal weight for a
Right.
lot of people.
Yes.
So measuring abdominal fat or abdominal mass would probably actually be a better thing, but I know a lot of people don't obviously like that's not going to be how they measure it because it's just not standard of care, but
Yeah.
maybe it should be.
Yeah. I mean, it's a better marker. It tells more of the story than BMI just because
Mm-hmm.
like technically if you're someone male or female that like lifts weights or
Mm-hmm.
is like very active or whatever, like maybe you have a heavy amount of muscle mass, you
Mm-hmm.
could be in the overweight or like even obese category as it
100%.
falls according to BMI, which isn't obviously correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to everybody. It just doesn't tell the whole story. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the most accurate measure.
Yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
I think that we could do better as a community doing that.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
next.
So next, some metabolic markers, blood
Mm-hmm.
sugar regulation, insulin sensitivity, lipid profiles, so your cholesterol and triglycerides, blood pressure. We always already kind of talked about these, but waist circumference and visceral fat. That's what the waist
Mm-hmm.
circumference is basically measuring, like how much abdominal fat that you have correlates a lot to your health,
Mm-hmm.
even if like just in that specific area too.
Yeah. And
Um,
they're talking about visceral fat, which is the measure of the type of body fat stored deep within the abdominal cavity surrounding your organs like liver, intestine, stomach.
mhm. Yeah.
So just so we know kind of the
The
difference.
difference. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. And then mitochondrial health and energy production. Those are our
Yes.
metabolic markers. Yes.
So, um, a couple of things to note about each of these, I guess. Blood sugar regulation. There are differences between like, I guess, quote, norms, but also optimal. So generally, fasting glucose less than 100 is considered normal. But optimally, some people will say, or some providers will say, I guess, that 70 to 85 is actually better in fasting.
Hmm.
Fasting insulin would be less than 8, but I know some providers who prefer less than 5 and others who say less than 10. So it just kind of depends on you and your personal situation. A1C, again, normal is less than 5.3, but for most functional providers, they will say less than 4.5. And then glucose spikes post meal, you want them to be around or a little bit less than 30 milligrams per deciliter. And I was listening to a podcast about blood sugar yesterday, and uh, the dietitian was talking about how like we're supposed to have these rolling hills of glucose spikes throughout the day. Like you're supposed to eat glucose, your insulin is supposed to
Hmm.
respond, you're supposed to put it into your muscles or whatever. And a lot of people are really afraid of those spikes. So we just don't want them to be huge spikes if you were to measure this on a CGM, for example.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also like your lipid profiles for values like that. Those are the things like your cholesterol and your triglycerides.
Mm-hmm.
So cholesterol, you have two different markers for that. You have like, you'll hear people say like HDL and LDL, and HDL is
Mm-hmm.
like, quote, good,
Good.
and then LDL is like the bad.
Mm-hmm.
You need both to survive, but HDL you want greater than 50 milligrams per deciliter, and LDL you want less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. And then the third
Mm-hmm.
marker is triglycerides.
Hmm.
So also the lower the better is great for this one. Really looking at dietary contributions, and the goal is less than 150 milligrams per deciliter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
those are things to get measured. And then there's like, we could talk about cholesterol all day, but this is not about cholesterol. There's other like sizes of types of cholesterol as well. So if you're like, my cholesterol looks normal, but I have insulin resistance and I have high triglycerides and low HDL, that could be something to look into as well. So you can get
yeah.
extra cholesterol testing as needed.
Hmm.
Um, okay, and then blood pressure. So we talked about this a little bit before, but resting blood pressure after you're sitting for 5 minutes, still, calm, relaxed, feet on the floor, or your hands and arms should be like on the arms of your seat, I think is the proper position that we learned.
Hmm.
Um, and that should be less than 120 over 80 milligrams of mercury, millimeters of mercury, not milligrams. Um, and anything over 120 over 80 is considered high or not optimal.
Hmm.
Um, big shifts when you're standing, that's sign of poor autonomic control or metabolic dysfunction as well. So either POTS, so postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which a lot of my people with dizziness have, and or orthostatic hypotension. One time, this is like completely off topic, but I had this patient who was like, I am dizzy every time I stand. And he was a man in his 70s. And I was like, okay, we'll like check you for BPPV, do all the things. Then I asked him like halfway through our visit, and I was like, I'm curious, like, how much water do you drink? He's like, I don't. And I was like, okay, well, you're super dehydrated. We're at 7,000 feet of elevation where you live. He lived way up a hill. He traveled a ton still for work. And like he would go back and forth between here and the UK and like doing all the things, like active, walking
He just
around.
doesn't drink any water.
Nope,
He's just zero. He never
0.
takes any
Mm-mm.
drinks of water.
Yep.
Wow.
Sometimes he would drink some Gatorade and sometimes he would drink some Boost drinks.
Oh,
Like there's
wow.
some fluid in there. But I was like, you are severely dehydrated and you just don't have like the blood volume and capacity. So you're basically dealing with orthostatic hypertension. I can give you some balance exercises, but at the end of the day, you need to drink like 80 to he was really tall, like 6'5". I was like, at the end of the day, you need to drink more water or you need someone to like give you an IV bag every day. And he's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. So drink your water, team.
Such a simple thing that you need to do
Hmm.
every day, but I
Yeah.
feel like whenever
Yeah.
you're feeling a certain way, just like if you
Yeah.
have a headache, or not necessarily for everybody, obviously, like it's different, but like
Yeah.
if you're feeling off,
Hmm.
we forget to drink water.
Totally. Forget
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is
Dang.
my blood pressure
Wow. Okay.
unit. I'll
Okay.
never
And
forget that
then
guy.
that's crazy. But also, he hasn't contacted you again, so hopefully like that worked for him.
I mean, I don't think that he does it, but I think he knows why he has
He
the
knows why at
problem.
least.
Yeah,
He knows he should. That's important.
exactly.
Okay, and then waist circumference, we already like touched on this a little bit, but basically excess fat that's stored around your abdominal organs, not just your overall weight. Um, It's, yeah, so this excess fat is strongly tied to metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, cardiovascular risk. Even in people with normal weight, high visceral fat can also r result in like high disease risk, um, or TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. So again, it's not like fat that you can see like and grab at your stomach. It's the stuff that is inside of you that's like surrounding your organs. So it's not necessarily always visible.
Yes.
But again, for women, waist circumference that you're looking at is less than 35 inches, and men is less than 40 inches. And then ideally, the waist to hip ratio for men is 0.9 or less, and women is 0.85 or less.
Yes.
Yes. Could be like worth doing at home to measure. And like, honestly, if you're having like health goals or you're like on a health journey right now, this could be a really I think sometimes everybody gets so focused on weight, and if you're routinely lifting weights or you're routinely training, a lot of times that marker is a frustrating one to re-establish or like keep track of, and because it's not always like telling the whole story. So I think this is a good one to like implement because sometimes, a lot of times, you will like if you're making health changes, you'll notice like your clothes, people will say your clothes are fitting differently. And this might be like taking measurements might actually be like a really good one because it's a sign of health. And then also it's something that does change like your bo while your body composition is changing.
100%. Okay, next is mitochondrial health and energy production. And I think that this one is really interesting. We don't have a way to measure um like how does your mitochondria function? We just do not, unfortunately. But you remember from high school bio and every meme on the planet that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of your cells and creates ATP, which is energy, adenosine triphosphate. And healthy mitochondria are essential for brain, nerve, and muscle function, and just like the function of literally your entire body. Um, so mitochondrial dysfunction can equal to low energy, brain fog, fatigue, cognitive issues, just feeling like you're tired, feeling like maybe you're not like I do all these things, but like I'm just not feeling right.
Hmm.
And it's also pretty common in the chronic illness space, mold toxicity, long COVID, metabolic syndrome, all of the things. So, functional indicators of this could be things like brain fog, chronic fatigue, exercise intolerance. And you could also get measured like your CoQ10, carnitine, or B2 levels as well. You could think about those. But of course, these are not like the only measures. But if you're like, yeah, I just don't feel right, then yeah,
Something to take into account. Yeah.
yeah, to
You don't feel
consider.
right, but you're also drinking enough water.
Drink enough water, eat enough fiber and protein.
Right.
You're like not eating a ton of processed foods, like you're not, which these things will also help your metabolic health.
Right.
Um,
Which
yeah.
leads into, yeah, what disrupts our metabolic health? So, like Maddie said,
Mhm.
ultra processed foods. We've like this is no surprise. Everybody knows this. Like we all know it. I mean, we still buy, we still have some processed foods. Like, absolutely, we do. But it's not what I consume the majority of the time or the majority of my day. But ultra processed foods, seed oils. If you guys haven't listened to our podcast on seed oils, go listen to that one. It's really good. I think we lay it out like super nicely of like what to consider when,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I learned so much from that episode. So check that one out.
Me too. I was
Um,
definitely like, I'll never eat a seed oil. And then we did the research and I was like, okay, maybe we just don't eat tons of seed oils.
yeah, like what is happening? Also, just like what oils to cook with was like shocking to me. I was like, what the
Totally.
heck? Anyways,
Totally.
go listen to it, you guys.
Hmm.
And then added sugars. Also, chronic stress and cortisol imbalance, poor sleep. You got like, obviously, poor sleep is just, it leads to all the bad things. And
Hmm.
circadian rhythm disruption, sedentary lifestyle, environmental toxins. This is like what our whole podcast is about, and endocrine disruptors, and then gut dysbiosis. Those are
Yeah,
all disruptors to your metabolic health.
which
So,
is crazy.
yeah.
So just easy things to take into consideration. I mean, I got just not, nothing, none of this is like easy. So choose the one that you
Mm.
feel like is the most straightforward to you. Um, balancing your blood sugar, so eating protein-rich meals with fiber and fat. You're never eating naked carbs. Um, build muscle, move regularly, challenge yourself with strength training at the gym. Also, don't forget about cardio. Um, reducing visceral fat, so improving sleep quality and stress management are huge here, which it's like, how am I feel like I just need to lose weight. You need to sleep first and foremost.
Hmm.
And if you're not sleeping, a lot of times that has to do with imbalanced blood sugar in the middle of the night can be a big one that will wake you up at 2 or 3 in the
Hmm.
morning. And then also your hormones, especially if you are above 35 and potentially in perimenopause and menopause, if you don't have enough progesterone, that can also wake you up in the middle of the night. Yo-yo dieting, and again, not eating enough fiber and protein. I'm
Hmm.
trying to put the word fiber in my sentence about protein always because it
Yes.
is equally important.
Yes. And
Um,
forgotten.
yeah, exactly.
That's such a
I
good point. Like the
everyone.
carbs thing, right?
Mhm,
Like I feel like if you want a snack, sometimes you just like, I mean, it depends, but like
mhm,
have some cheese with your
mhm,
crackers or like
mhm.
have some hummus or something
Yeah,
like that is substantial. Like I feel like you feel so much better. Like I know
100%.
I do. Like if I just eat
Hmm.
something like a simple carb, like I don't feel very good afterwards.
No, even if I just eat an apple,
Yeah,
I get like immediately kind of like bloated and weird. But if I have cheese and an apple, no problem.
way better. Way
Yeah,
better.
because there is a
Yeah.
lot of fiber in there and there is a lot of carbs in there, but there's no protein.
Yeah.
So that's just like
Balanced.
for a snack situation. And then I'm like, oh, I needed to have some protein. And then I feel better. So,
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
um,
Yeah.
for lipid imbalances, making sure you're getting enough omega 3s.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Olive oil, salmon, sardines, supplements,
Yeah.
fatty fish, grass-fed ghee, all of those things.
Yeah.
Bueno.
Bueno.
Avocados, bueno. And
Bueno.
then trying to lower your blood pressure. So prioritizing your electrolyte balance. So not just, I know a lot of electrolytes are weird because most people's electrolytes are fine, but some people like need extra ones. So just like play with that yourself, but also like you need a balance of sodium and potassium. So like chugging 1,000 milligrams of sodium with no potassium, not a great idea. So if you're drinking just like like really salty electrolytes that have no potassium in them, please maybe consider some potassium. But I know some people are contraindicated to potassium because of certain medications. So really
Mhm.
just you have
Yeah.
to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
Make sure you listen to your providers and
Healthcare provider.
healthcare
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, and I think that just like a really the simplest, maybe not simple for everyone, but the simplest thing to do is to just test and see where you're at. So ask your provider for fasting insulin, A1C, glucose, triglyceride to HDL level, waist circumference. You can do this at home, your
Hmm.
A1C, your blood pressure, and then you could get a continuous glucose monitor. I did one for a month once, and at first I
Hmm.
changed nothing. And then the second 2 weeks, I like changed stuff and just like saw how it was. And it was interesting because like everyone's bodies reacts to food so differently. And I just told my doctor, I was like, I think that I have some hypoglycemia issues. And she was like, here's a CGM. I have the coolest PCP ever. She's
Hmm.
like, here's a CGM. Have a nice day. It will be covered now. And I was like, okay, great. So I just did it twice and it was just for an experiment on myself just to see.
That's interesting. Is there
Hmm.
anything that you've like that you learned from that that you still do like
I
every day?
I learned, and this is supported by research that I learned after, that the closer you get to your period, the harder time your body has like regulating glucose. So it's
Interesting.
more important to eat like really, really, really balanced, like the second half of your cycle, basically.
That's super
Has to
interesting.
be.
Makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense.
Makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. So
I
yeah.
feel like metabolic health, like when I think of it, is just like all those underlying things that like they're not boring, but it's just like if you, it's like the little things that you do every single day add up and like they really do
Yes.
make a difference
Yes.
on your health. And it's like things like that where it's like not a huge event, but like all those little things that you do, like taking walks and like regularly working out and just like eating healthy and all those things, stress relief, like all those things make a huge difference over time on your life. So if
Totally.
you're doing them and they feel hard, keep going because it all pays off. And if you're not
Exactly.
doing them or all of them, add like one that you want to
Hmm.
start doing.
I totally agree. What's your favorite thing from today?
Honestly, the stat that you whipped out at the beginning,
It's crazy.
like what? Like I know we can always be doing better, but that is
We could
crazy.
all be doing better, turns out.
Like gosh, okay, that's
Yeah.
wild. But it's good to know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's good to
Even
know.
like even I guess like applying to your own life and being like, okay, what small thing could I do
Hmm.
to improve something by a little bit? Which Yeah, like maybe it's adding fiber. Maybe you've got protein down and now it's like adding fiber, or
Hmm.
maybe it's drinking more water. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's like calculating how much you should drink and making sure you're actually drinking that much. Like, just small stuff.
Yeah. Take it one
Yeah.
step at a time. Don't try to overhaul your whole life.
No, ma'am.
No,
Do you have a
ma'am.
favorite from today?
I think I love that stat. I mean, it's such a
Yeah.
horrible stat, but I do love it.
We love stats.
We love a good statistic, even if
Yeah.
it's a bad statistic.
Yeah.
But I also think knowing that metabolic markers are things that you can pretty easily get tested besides like mitochondrial health, um, at the doctor.
Yeah.
Like most of them are going to be like, oh, you want to know about your insulin and cholesterol? Fine, here's a test. Like, great.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that that is my favorite thing that you can just like easily
Yes.
kind of look.
And you can ask for those things. Like you
Hmm.
can ask to be tested for those things. Like you have that power. It's your healthcare. Like you do what you want
Exactly.
to do. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
agree.
Love that. Yeah. I love
Awesome.
it.
All right. Well,
Yay.
thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye.
Bye.